All right, so here's the deal. If you're a high achiever who's always chasing the next goal and striving for success, this one is definitely for you, like seriously for you. Now, here is if you keep pushing yourself just to keep up with what's expected of you, trying to keep up appearances and live up to the perfect image of what other people expect of you and their standards, definitely stick around, right? Because the truth of the matter is, I get it. Like, I seriously get it because for a long time, that description resonated with me deeply. That's who I was. But the one thing I did recognize but is that doing all of that stuff got me no closer to the satisfaction and the peace I desired until one thing changed. Now, before I talk about the one thing that changed, let me tell you a story. Last year, I let two of my professional certifications expire. Now, my certified change management professional certification and my project management professional certifications have been feathers in my professional hat for God knows how long. They're actually symbols of my self worth for years. And yet, these are the things that God told me to release. And I didn't argue with him. I had all the prerequisites, like I had done the work to renew them, but I let them lapse instead because God told me so. And why was this so important? Because it's for the first time ever I did not tie my worth to a professional or life achievement. But I only got there because, let me tell you the backstory. Years ago, I self-studied and passed my project management professional certification exam. No, I had this huge desire to climb the corporate ladder, so this was like a big deal. In fact, when I got the news, I cried. And when my peers learned of my accomplishment, their respect increased. Like I was on cloud nine for at least a week. But then I started thinking about the next thing to achieve because if you're trying to climb the corporate ladder, there are gonna be things that you need to be doing, you feel like you need to be doing. And so for me, the next thing to achieve in this case was my certified change management professional exam, right? It took completing that exam for me to clue in on a destructive pattern I had. I'd accomplish something, then immediately start grinding to accomplish the next thing. Like, I could not even sit down to savor my success before I'm like, okay, what's the next thing to do? Right? I realized I was successful by my peer standards and was on target to all my goals, but I could not take the time to be present and enjoy my accomplishment. I was just always on to the next thing. There was something that drove me, and I could not understand what it was. It took a whole journey for me to start understanding better what was that thing that drove me, right? As I sit here and I reflect and realize that, for a long time, for as long as I could remember, I grew up hearing people telling me, you are smart and you will do great things. In fact, the more I achieved, the more the respect grew and the more people got specific. You are so great at XYZ. It is time, it is a thing you're meant to do it, right? And so I took everything people said and what the world defined as success and created a version of success for my life. And it was out of that place that I went about collecting certifications and degrees like they were literally Pokemons. And yet, despite all of that, I could not still this dissatisfaction and the longing for peace and joy that eluded me, right? So it's no wonder that in 2020, after I almost lost my life, I started broaching one topic to the Lord. God, what is my purpose and what is my dream job? And let's just tell you, sometimes God responds to you about certain things and it don't make no sense. This was one of those cases for me. His response was puzzling, but it was also pretty simple. He said to me, I will give you a job that aligns with your purpose and makes you excited each day. However, there are things you need to come to terms with. If I reveal it to you now when you are not ready, you would reject it. I told you, don't make no sense, right? And so I was confused because I had these dreams of corporate grandeur around the thing I was skilled at, right? Those visions rolled out into my personal life. You know, I wanted the big house, I wanted the perfect husband and kids, I wanted the white picket fence that I saw on TV, and I wanted a lot of money and the lifestyle that having a lot of money afforded me. But that was not what God had in mind for me. Not in that way, at least, right? That was not his version of success for Shanielle. And so this week, one truth washed over me. As I listened to numerous friends thank me for the seeds I sowed into them, I saw that those seeds had sprouted fruit in my friends and in people I've never met and will probably never meet. I realized that I was doing work that lights me up. Like, I could literally see God's vision, God's response to me manifesting. Like, literally I was doing work that makes me excited every day. That's when it truly hit me. God's words are true. I am living in the reality of goals and successes that are exceedingly abundantly above anything the former version of myself could have imagined. And all it took to get there was aligning with my Creator and Father and submitting my way and will for His. Wasn't easy because it meant releasing control of my personal goals and timelines. It meant relinquishing how I thought things could happen. It meant releasing the goals other people thought I should pursue. It meant submitting my desires and ideas to Him for refinement. It meant doing exactly as He said when it least made sense. And to be truthful, I didn't always get it right, but I did try. Because guess what? It's really progression, not perfection. But in doing all of that, it took a huge sacrifice. I literally stopped chasing success and submitting myself to the will of others, including myself, right? And that transition started with one act of obedience. When the Lord told me to leave corporate in 2021, I did. And yet it was one of the hardest things I've ever done. Like, literally, it stripped me of the successful world that I'd built and the dreams I had around it, right? It stripped me of my network, right? And I spent years working my ass off to get to the top of the corporate ladder. And it wasn't just working my ass off. I put everything into it. Like, I spent money, like a lot of money. I paid for the degrees and the certifications I felt would help me get ahead. In fact, I was on my second master's when I quit corporate. I put in a lot of time. I worked long hours thinking how it would pay off one day. I kept my eye on the prize even after my second burnout from doing the same shit on a different day. I sacrificed relationships and passions. I put everything and everyone I loved, including myself, on the back burner of my life. I told myself that once I achieved all I wanted, it would be worth it. And yet, despite all of those sacrifices, there was this insatiable monster within me who demanded to be fed constantly. And you know what his food of choice was? It was a euphoria of chasing and accomplishing new goals that made me look successful. And when I say look successful, I actually put up the air quotes because it made me look successful. The truth was, I chased an elusive version of success. Truthfully, it was not something I truly desired. I wanted it because it was what I was supposed to want. So for years, I spent years chasing new accomplishments and sacrificing to climb to the top of a ladder that I did not even want to be on. That's a sad and scary admission to make, right? It was not one that I made until 2023. I left corporate, but I was also mad at God for making me leave the dreams I had to do His will. And I don't know, we've all heard people talk about that, like, oh, you know, I left what I wanted to do. I left success to go do God's will. And I mean, I thought about it and I'm like, that's sad. But that was literally where I was at, right? Feeling like I was sacrificing something to go do what God wanted me to do. And in fact, When I stepped away from corporate to do God's will, I still tried to recreate my corporate dream in the business world. I told myself that I could accomplish all the fame and grandeur there doing the thing I was good at, that I could have the respect of my peers there. I refused to lose my version of success, and my self worth, I think about it now, was still tied to the respect and approval of the people around me. And so I continued to chase others' versions of success for me. I left one environment behind only to tighten the noose around my neck once again. I had to succeed, or else I would be looked upon like a failure. That's some of the thoughts that ran through my head. Others thought I was a fool to leave my good corporate job to go into business. So anything less than success by their standards would only be confirmation of what they said. Anything less than success would mean that I wasted the thing I was good at. So you see that sneaky little stewardship thing coming in there. In fact, I was willing again. I was in the business world and I was willing again to sacrifice to make it happen, because being a success would make it all worth it. So it's no wonder that when I failed to have the business I wanted in the time I wanted, I battled immense feelings of failure and shame. And you know the truth? Today, I look back and I thank God that I did not get the success I wanted, because I realized it would have sucked me dry inside and robbed me of the opportunity to impact the lives of the people I am called to. There was a problem in the earth that my specialness, the thing I was good at, was called to solve, I was created to solve. And so, in fact, God redefined failure for me, because I was focused on doing what everybody else thought I should do, and I thought that was success, when the truth, it could have been failure by God's standards. And so God led me on this journey around redefining what failure is. Now, a few days ago, God used Exodus 2:1-2 to renew my perspective on failure and preparation. Now, Exodus 2:1-2 simply reads, "About this time, a man and woman from the tribe of Levi got married. The woman became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She saw that he was a special baby and kept him hidden for 3 months." Now, the thing that struck me about this piece of scripture is Moses' mom behavior when she knew she held something special. She hid her baby to protect it. And the truth, it wasn't even hiding the baby out of fear of what everyone would say, but it was to give her baby the best chance of survival. Right? When I think about her behavior, I realize that it is literally the opposite of how many of us behave when we hold something special in our hands, or we even see or deem ourselves special. We either grow timid and hide, because that's what I did, and hide it because we don't believe in it or we fear what others will say. But oftentimes, we do everything to put the specialness on display immediately. We put all of our time and effort into showing it off to the world as soon as it is discovered. Like, tools like social media make it easy to call attention to specialness. And if no one keys into what we're showing off, many of us think it's a sign to try harder, or worse, start to believe that we are not as special as we seem to think. So we stop believing in what God placed in us, which is sad, right? We end up overlooking something that Moses' mom was keenly aware of. There is something out to kill that special baby, and so it has to be protected and given the best chance to survive at all costs. Let's look at the backstory. You see, Moses was born at a time when the Pharaoh of Egypt had given the command that all Israelite baby boys be killed. Yet his mom saw that he was special and was willing to sacrifice to give him every chance of survival. She literally disobeyed the ruler of her nation and hid her special son for 3 months. Now, you may think that you're not facing anything as dire as Moses' mom did, but let me offer you an opportunity to shift your perspective. Every day we face situations designed to shift our focus from or minimize the power of the thing God calls us to. The devil wants to either distract us or kill us and the fruits associated with us. Don't believe me? Just check St. John 10:10. It literally says, The thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. This was literally Jesus speaking. We realize now that Moses' mom was not just fighting for her son's life, she was unknowingly fighting for the freedom of her people, the Israelites. That was the power that laid in her baby's specialness. That was what was on the line to be stolen, killed, and destroyed if she had not protected it with such vigor. You look at it. You read the entire story of Exodus, Deuteronomy, Numbers, Leviticus. That's Moses' story there. That's what his mother protected. And when I allowed myself to be distracted by the world's and my version of success, do you know what was on the line there when I thought about it? It was my mission to equip you to serve your neighbor in ways that honors God, you and them. It was my message to you that was on the line. My message to people pleasers that was on the line. It was my work with entrepreneurs and leaders that was on the line. It was my work to promote emotional wellness and hit the psychological effects of Caribbean slavery that was on the line. When you think about it, that's a lot. Now, that's me. Let's think about you. What is on the line if your specialness is not protected? Now, I touched a lot on specialness and success and all of that. And there was one thing else that the Lord showed me. He started to speak to me about what it meant to protect my specialness. Because I thought when I read Moses' mom's story, my immediate thought was protecting my specialness was about hiding it for a due season. Because that's what Moses' mom did. She hid her son as long as she could, and then later God hid him in plain sight in Pharaoh's palace as Pharaoh's nephew. However, my perspective shifted when God took it a step further. He showed me that protecting that specialness is also about preparing it for the season when it is meant to be revealed. The thing is, preparation doesn't always look like what we expect. Let's take a look again at Exodus 2 and let's look at verse 3 to 4. It simply reads, "But when she could no longer hide him, she made a basket out of papyrus reeds and waterproofed it with tar and pitch. She put the baby in the basket and laid it among the reeds along the bank of the Nile River. The baby's sister then stood at a distance watching to see what would happen." You know, it got me thinking. I read that and it got me thinking, like, maybe when Moses' mom got pregnant, she hoped it was a girl, right? I mean, at least that's what I would have wished for, because when baby boys are being murdered, it would certainly make life easier, much easier, right? And the truth is, who doesn't want easy? Then I thought about it. Moses' mom probably had a lot of dreams and hopes about her baby. Like, how will I nurture this child? She can't wait to show off the child to her friends. Like, what would she teach the child? Who did she hope the child would become? Like, all the things. She probably had a lot of goals, dreams, and vision around what being a mother would look like to her new baby. So imagine what it would have felt like when a baby boy emerged and she realized what was on the line, that this was no ordinary child. Things became more complicated for sure. She probably had a moment when the realization hit, like, shit, the ordinary life I planned for my baby is no longer possible. She probably prayed about what to do, like, Lord, how do I protect this special child? I can just imagine how conflicted she must have felt when she realized that the only way to protect the child was to release the child. Not into the physical arms of someone who could care for him, but literally into what would have probably felt like worse danger. She had to prepare a basket to make sure it could hold the baby in the dangerous environment she was about to put him in. And once that basket was ready, she put her beloved baby, the baby that she considered special, in the basket. And then she placed that basket on the River Nile, trusting God to protect him. And I thought about what could possibly be in the River Nile, like protect him from crocodiles and creatures that could kill him. protect him from the nature of the river, protect him from all the unknowns and things she could do nothing about. And all she could do was, after she put the baby on the river Nile, was send her daughter to watch from afar as the basket flowed with the currents of the river Nile to wherever it was supposed to go. Now, I thought about that and I'm like, isn't that hard when you're a control freak? Isn't it hard when you have hopes and dreams about how things will be? I cannot even begin to imagine all the feelings she would have experienced as she submitted her special baby to God and trusted Him to protect her child way better than she could. Now, what about you? Like, really, what about me? Like, you know your vision is special. You know what God has put in you is special, right? You know you are meant for great things. And yet the way the Lord tells you to prepare your specialness is to hide it. Yet the way He tells you to prepare for that specialness and to do the things that is to do, and to do the thing He has called you to do, is He's asking you to do things that make no sense, to do things that look like it will destroy and kill it, instead of giving it more of a chance to live. That sounds crazy, right? Like, God, that's crazy. But that's exactly what He did with Moses' mom. That's exactly what He did with me when He told me to walk away from corporate. That's exactly what He did when He told me to release my professional certifications. I thought I knew what success looked like. I had the hopes and dreams of success. I invested heavily to secure that success, and yet He told me to walk away. It was Him putting me in a basket that He prepared to protect me. It was Him putting me on the river Nile to get me into the arms of Pharaoh's daughter. It was Him getting me to the place where I could get what I needed to hone my specialness. It was Him preparing me for my purpose in ways I never thought possible. The truth is, I wouldn't be here writing to you like this if I never walked away from corporate. I was a high achiever with low self-worth. I did not know and own my identity as a daughter of God, somebody who's loved by our Heavenly Father, someone who did not have to perform to be loved. I was a people pleaser who hated myself and my life. I did not know how to love myself or my neighbor. I did not know how to serve and love my neighbor without bending over backwards or sacrificing myself. And you know the surprising thing? God did protect me the same way He protects you. God refined my desires and He gave me success in a way that it did not cost me my peace and my joy. And when you look back at Moses' mom's story, you realize that she too got to experience her hopes and joys unexpectedly. Let's look back at Exodus 2, 5-10. It reads, "Soon Pharaoh's daughter came down to bathe in the river, and her attendants walked along the river bank. When the princess saw the basket among the reeds, she sent her maid to get it for her. When the princess opened it, she saw the baby. The little boy was crying and she felt sorry for him. 'This must be one of the Hebrew children,' she said. Then the baby's sister approached the princess. 'Should I go and find one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you?' she said. 'Yes, do,' the princess replied. So the girl went and called the baby's mother. 'Take this baby and nurse him for me,' the princess told the baby's mother. 'I will pay you for your help.' So the woman took her baby home and nursed him. Later, when the boy was older, his mother brought him back to Pharaoh's daughter, who adopted him as her son. The princess named him Moses, for she explained, 'I lifted him out of the water.'" Imagine that. Moses' mom released her special baby according to what God instructed her to do. I'm assuming that's what God instructed her to do, but she released her baby. And things worked out in a way where she got to raise her son without the threat of Pharaoh killing him hanging over her head. She didn't have to hide it for it to thrive. She could be in the open. She also got to experience some of the joys, desires, and hopes that she had in being a mom all along. because she chose to submit her special baby to God. My friend, my point here is submitting to God gives you joyful and peaceful, long-lasting success. My pink flamingo friend, Moses' mom's story is my story, and it can be your story too. Success comes when you submit to God. I only got here because I submitted to God's version of protection. Protecting my specialness to ensure my success meant stepping out into the scary things. It meant ditching my logic of what safety and security looks like and trusting that God has me covered under his wings. It meant releasing my version of success and trusting God to prepare me and guide me to his version of success for me. The only thing I can say is that it has been hard, but it has also been rewarding. It is worth it, especially the joy and peace that comes with it. So today, will you take a page from Moses' mom's book? Will you take a page from my book? Will you trust God with your specialness today? And if you're ready to get off the high achieving train of striving for success, and instead ditch the expectations of others and unlock God's version of success for you, become a pink flamingo. Check the link below, check the description box, or check the link below this audio and choose your path to pink flamingo food. Whether you're a reader, whether you like short audios or video, there's an option there for you. My pink flamingo friend, my desire is to see you soar and own all of your pinkness.